value for our customer base. So, to a brief introduction, I'll go into the background of our software and what we do for hospitals and clinicians and pharmacists, and talk about how we face our big data solution so that we could really drive more value to our customers and deliver those, especially in real time, which has I'll go through slides and see why it's so my background, I'm a developer, a computer science background. I worked for NASA for several years working on their deep space missions. After that, I went into consulting, worked in the nanotech and biotech industries for several years. One thing I learned in those industries, because they were doing big data, I call it big data on a small scale, doing science analysis, and how important good talent is to delivering big data solutions. Point case is the nanotech company had good talent, and they're still around. The biotech did not have the talent to really tackle the big data solutions, and of course they're no longer around. They kind of got eclipsed by competition. Now I'm a lead engineering team lead for Pharmacy OneSource, which is a part of Walters Kluwer's and their clinical solutions area. And just a little more on Pharmacy OneSource. We're a SaaS healthcare provider. We're in one of 3 hospitals in the U.S. They have one or more of our product line. We have an active community of over 44,000 pharmacy professionals and clinicians who utilize our software and share experiences. We were a small startup like many others, and we're purchased by Walters Kluwer's in 2010 through 11, and now we're kind of part of the Walters Kluwer's Clinical Solutions clinical services area. The flagship application for our company is called Sentry 7, and it deals in the surveillance realm for clinical decision support. We deal with interventions, documentation, and reporting for like NIH reporting. Just a little more in detail, what do I mean by surveillance? So surveillance is actively monitoring patients to identify opportunities for interventions. The intervention is defined as changing patient care to improve outcomes. Outcomes could be for quality and safety for the patient. It could be just for efficiency reasons, or even just cost effectiveness, trying to save money on drugs, etc. So what happens is pharmacists will use our solution to find patients that are on wrong antibiotics or too many antibiotics, and then they will document intervention through our services, so we can show the work they're doing, the return on investment they're doing for changing patients off expensive drugs, bringing a less expensive drug and getting the same care, those types of solutions. We are a SaaS model. We receive data from hospitals via the HL7 standard message format. Currently, our platform supports over 500 hospitals across the U.S. Our end users access our applications through web browsers and mobile devices. The 2 big users of our software right now are clinicians that are in infection prevention realm, and also pharmacists. Currently, we are a SaaS model, but we also have our own hardware. We do have potential aspirations to move to the cloud eventually, but for right now, because of HIPAA and other concerns, we stay with our own hardware and our own data centers. Okay, so where do we fit in? So typically, your patients come in, go see the doctor orders medications, might set up surgeries, diagnosis, observations, nurses, etc. will put in vitals information. They'll send out, they'll order tests through lab technicians. So all that data gets generated from disparate systems, it gets dumped into an EMR. And pharmacists and clinicians have a difficult time trying to find data that will help them make it easier for them to monitor their patients. Even if the big systems are coming out like Epic, stuff like that, with the thought that they can get better handle on their data, but it's good just for recording their data, and at least they can look at their patient information, patient history a little bit easier. All these, where we kind of fit in is tying the gap between all these disparate systems for hospitals. So often what happens is clinicians and pharmacists, what they want to do is they want to find patients that are on too many drugs or the wrong combination of drugs, which could cause sickness. They also, infection preventionists, want to find drugs that are not, or organisms or infections that are not responding to specific drugs. That's the big area that they want to find. And so often they'll go to their IT department and say, hey, can you create this report for me? And they might say yes, but often that IT department, we all have our own IT departments, they're often overworked, understaffed. And usually what they'll end up building for their clinicians and pharmacists are batch systems. It might take hours, or run nightly, you may come in the morning and may get the result, that type of thing. It's hard to get for them to get stuff in real time. They may go to the EMR. So they may go to the EMR saying, please provide me with this solution. They go to the EMR, it's very expensive for them to deliver the solution for these clinicians and pharmacists. It's also long delivery time, so it might be 3-6 months. They may have to wait for a software upgrade before they can get it into the clinician's hands, pharmacist's hands. And as always, speed is of the essence. So this is kind of where we come in. So we have the EMR with their data storage, and what we try to do is provide the gap between that EMR and clinician. We basically get HL7 messages from the EMR sent through secure connections, and basically what we do is we activate the data for the clinicians. And what that allows them to make intelligent decisions about their patients, find the patients that they most need to intervene on to improve patient outcomes. And basically what we do is we put the report, we can almost call it the report generation or query or rule in the hands of the clinicians and pharmacists. These are, for the most part, experts. They know what drugs to be looking for, to monitor. They will know what interactions to look for, to find problems. They'll get information from the CDC or NIH about things to look for. They can go to the system and get that into our software very easily. Our old system, what we call it kind of like a legacy rule engine, is basically a pool-based centric rule evaluation. So what would happen is, go back a little bit, end user would create this rule, and it would take them to like a dashboard and list all their rules. And when they go to that dashboard, we would basically execute queries against the system to return the patients that they care about based on whatever criteria they had entered. And the issue they had with that was, well, if they weren't logged in, they weren't getting any updates to those lists, and time could be of the essence. We were kind of SQL database-centric machines. They were very big, expensive machines. We kind of talk about the big data warehouses, et cetera, those types of things. There were lots of processors in them, but it was a bottleneck. We would have database locking with other customers, et cetera, and our data storage and persistent layers. Those were bottlenecks to getting these results back to our end users in quick time. We also found it's difficult to scale the individual sites to meet their demands, and we could have a larger site kind of clobber some of our smaller sites as their demand, their patients, and their data volume is growing. And as we were looking at our legacy system, we kind of recognized that we had to scale out to something else. And while we were having these problems, which were generating requirements for this, we were looking at, the business was looking at the industry to help them kind of find where they want to take the business. One of those was, reports coming out at the time back in 2003 talking about speed is everything. Delivering value at the time that is needed for pharmacists, clinicians, to the point of care to help clinicians change outcomes was really important. So what we did is we took these types of things and said, let's have that be part of our business. Let's have that be part of what we're able to sell. And so the whole idea of speed save lives kind of became like a mantra for speed save lives. Let's build stuff that can help these clinicians change outcomes. And to talk about their specific need, which we thought we could address, was sepsis. Sepsis is a very severe problem in the United States, and from what I've been told, around the world as well. 200,000 deaths in the U.S. are caused from sepsis. Once you get sepsis, it's almost mortality is very high, and it's very expensive for hospitals. 16.7 billion in annual costs just around sepsis alone. And going back to the previous slide, speed is of the essence, especially when you're looking at sepsis. So again, speed saves lives, kind of it's growing as our mantra. So part of the problem with the old system that we also had is when you're trying to evaluate patients for sepsis, the complexity of the query grows. So you're not just looking at drug orders, trying to find a patient that's on 2 or 3 or too many drugs. You need to take that drug order, combine it, potentially with their lab data, their vitals, any other signs and symptoms that they need to be aware of to help identify patients that might be at severe sepsis. Our old system, when they were utilizing this type of query or rule, it often would fail. It would, we had kind of a timeout of like 90 seconds. If it went over 90 seconds, it probably wasn't going to return the results the patient, the clinician or end user was wanting. And so you can also imagine somebody, we're all used to Google, et cetera, being very quick and fast. Imagine an end user sitting on a web page waiting for results to return. And for us, 90 seconds was just not the range we were wanting to go for. So in addition to the speed requirement that we were driving towards, we were also facing big data challenges. So every day, currently, we process 8 million messages, and our platform supports about 1 million patients right now. And as we're adding bigger hospitals and IDNs, et cetera, that patient count is growing and growing and growing. Those messages are growing and growing and growing. The system needs to be able to run 35,000 rules in real time. And those are rules on drug orders, vitals, textual observations, surgery data, and any combination of those. And we also recognized early on that, as we want to be able to add more types of data outside of what we know today, we need to be able to scale to consume even more messages, so to go beyond 50 million messages a day. And our business had kind of laid it down for us where, regardless of the complexity of the rule, they want to be able to return results for that rule within 10 seconds. And as a developer, I was like, holy cow. But we took it as, okay, let's make that a challenge. Speed saves lives. We're all trying to buy into that. In addition to that, there was other needs to be cost effective in trying to migrate from this almost mainframe-like centralized repositories and querying tools, so that we can save on capital expenditures. We want to be able to drive down our costs per hospital. Eventually, if we can get there, we want to be able to create a bridge from where we own our own data centers and our own hardware to get to the cloud. We understand there's potential, a lot of cost savings potentially there. The other issue we had is we didn't want to overhaul all our code base to a completely new paradigm necessarily, because we didn't have huge funds coming from venture capitalists. We were slowly adding value to our software by growing our customer base. Not trying to reach out and find millions of dollars to invest in. So the other business need in some ways to be cost effective, we need something that can sit on top of our existing systems. Talk just a little bit about Hadoop. I'm a little nervous about talking about Hadoop because I think in every seminar I've been here, they talk every 5 or 10 minutes someone says Hadoop. Hadoop is awesome. I'm not saying that. But it's good for certain things. It's good for MapReduce processes, big, huge batch processes where you're going over large amounts of data, building up nodes quickly and adding them to the big cluster. But the big con for us, years ago it wasn't as mature as it is now, and B, it was not doing real time. And we also felt that batch processing was a problem. Because batch processes can conflict with each other, they might sometimes take more time than they need to, etc. And so we want to get out of that batch processing. So we looked at a lot of solutions out there, and we couldn't really find a silver bullet to really kind of meet all our needs. So we realized that we needed a combination of technologies to kind of solve our business needs and our end users. So one of the solutions we went to was Gigaspaces. Gigaspaces provided us an in-memory grid, data grid, that provided us a very scalable solution, so that as we add hospitals, we can just quickly add machines to kind of meet the demands of our customer base. And one thing that it offered us was very fast processing capabilities. All that patient data and rules we want to be able to keep in memory together, right? So Gigaspaces, what it does is it extends jump spaces, and which is kind of a network memory type paradigm, right? You want to call it. And what they do is they add processing units, and they also allow deployable code to almost coexist with your memory. And looking at the market and looking at what we're needing, that seemed to be where we wanted to head to. And it's almost counterintuitive to a lot of architects where you want loosely coupled systems. But when you want to start getting to really real-time processing, sometimes those network latencies and stuff like that can be a big bottleneck. The other benefits we had with Gigaspaces is it didn't have any centralized point of failures, so we didn't have to worry about one machine going down and the entire system being offline or not being able to process data. I like, personally, it's self-healing, so that if I'm Saturday out in the park or something like that, I'm not getting a call saying the system is down. And this has happened where the machine has gone down, the hardware goes down, but it fixes itself, brings it back up, and life goes on. So I don't get the next big technology that we went after was how to evaluate all these rules for our end users. So we went to an open source platform called Kudrle. Kudrle is basically an embedded rule engine based in Java. It's often used in insurance and financial industry. American Family, where I'm in Wisconsin, uses it quite a bit for evaluating people for what kind of car insurance they get, homeowners insurance, those types of things. Because what it does is it allows end users to be able to write the rules, put them into systems that are processing and evaluating customer information. So Kudrle kind of goes into that expert system type artificial intelligence type of area. It does allow for hot deployable code. So a system can be up and running. Somebody wants to make a change, they just change their Kudrle file, it gets thrown into the system, it updates and starts evaluating based on the criteria. Or you can say, I want to pull this rule out because it's no longer valid, and you can pull that rule out in real time. More technical, it uses something called the VD algorithm. This is important for us because it allows for faster processing and shared information across rules. So if you have a set of 100, 200 rules, etc., some of those execution points can be shared. Versus if you have single queries all running, you can't really share the resources very well to try and produce results. Lots of companies try and build their own rule engine. I've seen companies outside, pharmacy OneSource do this. I've seen groups inside large employers try and do this. Often they all have performance issues with them, and for the most part it's because they're trying to do brute force, where they might create one thread and try and execute 300-400 rules at once, but eventually they're going to come up with bottlenecks very easily. The other issue we had, or item that rules solve for us, was temporal reasoning. And that is basically time-based execution. So as time goes on, somebody may come off a rule just because something hasn't happened or they haven't received the lab, etc. And we want to be able to reason over that type of data. So even in the absence of data, we want to be able to reason over it. So basically what we did is we combined gigaspaces and rules. Gigaspaces gave us the elasticity we wanted, the memory data grid we wanted, and it gave us the execution platform to put rules basically into. For performance, allowed us to co-locate the rules with the data to vastly reduce latency and improve execution. Allowed us to dynamically load and unload rules, leveraging gigaspaces and rules API. And again, like I said, it's elastic, so we can scale up, down, increase heap sizes, decrease heap sizes, move stuff off to machines onto other machines as needed with gigaspaces. And also, gigaspaces did allow us high availability, allowed us to monitor systems very easily, and it performed well for us. So, what does this look like in terms of our system? You get basically a big, huge processing grid, almost like a cluster, etc. And what we do is we kind of collate our message processing as we're receiving messages from hospitals in real time. They go through the in-memory data grid where we evaluate them. They also go through our rule engine. And all that is co-located on what we call a partition. Gigaspaces calls a partition, and we can have n number of partitions per machine. The other benefit is these machines are low cost for us. You can imagine, $100,000-200,000 for a big machine outside of license, etc. We can get $15,000-$20,000 machines with lots of RAM on them because RAM is cheap, and really expand our capabilities and processing powers. So, what does this look like then, kind of for our end users in some ways? We kind of developed like a massively parallel expert system in some ways. So we have our Central 7 application that clients see, and they can provide clinical system support to these experts and clinicians, etc. They're able in real time to create rules that they get into our system. And this is really ideal for them, so that imagine if some new drug comes on the market that their doctors are prescribing because it's beneficial for their patients. They don't have to wait for their IT or the EMR to recognize that new drug and get that into a report, etc. They can just quickly on Friday, write that rule, get into their system, and see what patients are on the drug that they may want to monitor their vitals, they may monitor white blood cell counts coming back, and they can quickly do that analysis. They don't have to wait huge timelines to get that data back and get that information, those surveillance results back to them. How has this helped us now? So we have actually had quite a great success implementing this platform. So on a single feed, our message processing jumped from about 30 messages per second to well over 130 messages per second. We actually are having issues now with our clients being able to send the data fast enough to us. So we've removed us actually being the bottleneck, and the client side and their EMR trying to send the data to us fast enough. I've been on calls lately where customers trying to see and understand why our vitals data is not up to date with what they're seeing in their EMR. Well, just because the EMR hasn't sent us the data in a timely manner. So this platform has really allowed us to leverage very, very fast processing and very, very fast reasoning. We've been able to, in about 6 months, migrate 95% of our clients over to this new platform. And the average response time for our clients who are able to rules and user interface perspective has dropped about 98%. So they're seeing really, really big benefits from this. And in terms of like average runtime for all of these rules, you can kind of see where everything starts to drop off. That's when that client went from the old world rule engine onto the new one. Where we were having some rules take 3-4 seconds to run, 5 seconds or more, sometimes 80-90 seconds. Those are all dropping down to millisecond deliveries, less than 30 milliseconds. So we're seeing huge performance improvements by going to this in-memory data grid and utilizing this rule-based system. So now the benefit of this is, again, as soon as we get a single message from a customer, this could be just for updating allergy, etc. We're able to take that new data element and within 30 milliseconds run against 300 rules for that hospital. The other benefit we're seeing is that pharmacists and clinicians know the exact time a patient qualifies for a rule. They don't have to have gone to the web page to run a query or to have it batch process and come and evaluate over a day's worth of data. As soon as we get that data in on that message, we're able to evaluate over 300 rules within a few milliseconds. The other benefit is we have all these rules are constantly running for all patients. So you can imagine, so for an average hospital, we under about 1,000 to 2,000 patients. That's growing to 9,000 or 10,000 patients per hospital for larger sites. We are expecting that to grow. And the other benefit of this, because those rules are always constantly running, is that patients, even if we haven't received any new data elements, they may be coming on the list or coming off the list because time has expired. They haven't had a white blood cell count in the last 3 days, and they're still on this drug. And you get that in your lab order just to make sure it's effective. Or they can monitor a specific patient on a specific drug and see how well they're reacting over a few days, and if it's not responding, they can switch them to a different drug. So you're seeing real benefits there. This has also kind of opened the door for new product horizons for our business. So notifications now are extremely valuable to our end users. So as soon as that message comes in, patient qualifies for rule, we can send out a notification to their SMS, pager, email notification system, whatever, so they can go take reaction very quickly. This is really important when I was talking about sepsis earlier, where time matters. Often, patient is in sepsis, getting towards septic shock. We want to be able to respond to that patient within an hour. And so being able to send them a notification on some data element changing to the clinician and to the point of care is really valuable. So the other benefits we're seeing is, we're Pharmacy OneSource is under a clinical solutions group, and Walter's Floors, we have up-to-date health language are two of the other big groups in our system, providing other services. They want to leverage our technology to provide content, to provide real content to clinicians, pharmacists, etc. And we're happy that everybody wants it. Everybody wants to see the benefits of this platform and these rules evaluated in real time. So some of the challenges we have is data standardization. And so in spite of numerous standards out there, there's still little interoperability in healthcare. The average hospital, from what I've been told, has over 200 disparate data systems. We do use HL7, but we find it to be a poor standard for the healthcare industry in terms of everybody using the same nomenclature or even the same way they send the messages to us. The issues we find is it's a very loose standard and we're open to very extreme interpretation by vendors. even by even specific hospitals that set up their own feed, etc. This is true, two drugs from two hospitals within the same IDN. They'll send the drug a very different way, even though it's supposed to be on the same type of feed. Just because the vendor, the contractor that was set up to create that feed for them, for whatever reason, set up differently. So data standardization for us is really an issue. We are trying to move towards SNOMED, IC9, 10, et cetera, to try and get more standardization. But the difficulty we have is trying to get their non-standard data into these standards, because even the hospitals are showing that to us. Other future challenges for this, for us, are historical data. Over time, the size of our sites grows as we get more data into our system. Right now, we're growing about 8% a month. Other challenges we see is our rule engine is great at real-time surveillance. So we get a data element in, we can evaluate over a large number of rules very quickly. But the hospitals also want reporting capabilities. So this is not a system that's good for going back to get 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 year trends, trying to find clues or nuggets of data and things like that. We're trying to monitor over time their usage of drugs, etc. So that's where we might go to something like Hadoop and that type of solution to help analyze over historical trends, etc. And so that kind of goes into data governance a little bit. How do we only worry about the most recent data, but keep that other data there available and usable by our end users? Another thing we're seeing is that our end users are really excited and they keep defining everything in terms of the rule that they want. And we kind of need to hold back our users a little bit by trying to find everything by a rule. Something that's just as simple as even putting a little data on my patient card or something like that. It's really what they want, trying to direct them from everything, having the rules be the hammer for all our solutions. So we do struggle with that a little bit. We do also recognize that now we're at about 1 million patients. I think it's about to be 1.25 million, probably over the summer. But we do see in a couple of years us having to scale to 10 million patients. We are monitoring 1,000 to 2,000 patients per hospital right now, but that's mostly just their inpatients, where the clinicians and pharmacists are set. They want to be able to take this and spread this out to their outpatients, their outside facilities that are kind of part of their network, part of their hospital, that they want to be able to do this type of real-time analysis on. And so we've got good scalability right now to 1 to 2 million patients. I know we can go to 10 million patients, but we're next challenge is to start to scale these to get to 10, 25,000 patients per hospital, trying to monitor, trying to get from 400 rules to 8,000, 9,000 rules per site. And so, we think we have the basis and a great starting point to getting there. We know we'll be eking out every value we can out of these spaces and doing this time. Let's get there. If there's any questions and answers, does anybody have an answer?
How was your value proposition? How was it when you get to your customer base and sell your value proposition to hospitals that are getting more that believe they have the same capabilities that you have?
Okay.
Present that gap.
So the question was basically how do we sell ourselves versus what the EMRs are offering to customer bases, et cetera. So one of the things we find, and actually I'll take a personal anecdote here. I go to my doctor, annual checkup, whatever, and I get fascinated because I see Epic. I watch them, and I get frustrated from a developer's perspective watching them use that UI and watch them kind of suffer a little bit. Hopefully nobody from Epic is here. She talks because I'm in the industry or whatever, right? And she says, her big struggle with Epic is she wants to know the patients that have high blood pressure. And I thought, a very, very simple thing. She wants to know all the patients that have blood pressure above a certain level, or they want the top 10% of her patients that have high blood pressure. Epic can't necessarily deliver that to her in a timely manner. right? And so that's where we kind of come in and say, well, we can deliver that to you way faster. We can receive that data no problem because they send the HL7 messages, and we can provide that value to them. We get customers that are on old systems and very disparate systems go on to something like Epic. And Epic, they're selling. They say, well, we can provide all the solutions that we're providing, and so we will lose a customer every now and then. What ends up happening is 6 months later, they come back to us and say that they can't give them the value that they're looking for, they can't do it in the time that they need, they can't do it in real time, which is what they're wanting, and so they end up coming back to us. The other thing we're getting is we're getting bigger and bigger hospitals, like Mass General and things like that, buying into our system, and so we're getting some key hospitals that are going to kind of promote our use of remote radiant off. The other niche we have is we kind of have a reporting area too, where a lot of the rule results and evaluations we do get sent off to the NIH for reporting for NDRO, those types of things. And so that's where we're also kind of finding the niche a little bit too, is that the EMRs are not necessarily set up to provide those reports to various standards organizations. The question is, how do we handle getting data from Cerner or Epic or GE or healthcare or something, right? Okay. Luckily there's, I whine about HL7, but HL7 at least is there and well enough established as an industry standard, but that all these EMRs support it. So if somebody has Epic or something like that, they can start sending us their data very quickly. We do run into certain areas where we're creating feeds for like Vitals, etc. But usually because of the value we're proposing to hospitals, they're willing to build those feeds and start sending us that data. So we do have a few challenges where some of the data is not standardized in terms of HL7. At least we're able to get that data through that million feeds. We do, when we get the data, we do have our own patient models, etc., and things like that, where we parse out the drug information and patient identification and store that data to display it to end users. And then, for the most part, the rules that our customers are writing, they're actually writing against their own data. So they're using their own lab technology. They'll have, let's say, I need white WBC over 10,000. They'll know what that is because it's the nomenclature in their hospital. So which is great. So we didn't have to do a bunch of mapping to get to specific terminologies. So which is great. So they can get up and running very quickly. The only downside is trying to, like in the IDN, trying to share rules across sites because they may not be 100% compatible because their systems are not 100% compatible. So that's one area we're working for in this situation.